Okay, my 3D virtual reality program written in BASIC is almost complete. Done. Oh no. No, this is far too realistic. People can't handle this. What have I done? This can never see the light of day. Hello, and welcome to part 2 of my Quick Basic series. To follow along with this, you will need DOSBox or a DOS computer, as well as Quick Basic. I'll put download links to those in the description. So today we are going to be covering a few slightly more advanced topics than what we covered in the first video. If you haven't watched my first video, which covers very basic commands in Quick Basic, then you might want to check that out first. So today we are going to cover variables. Specifically, we're going to look at string and integer variables. We'll create one of each. We're going to look at a loop, specifically the for next loop. We're going to look at the sleep command, which just pauses your program. And we're also going to look at if statements for making decisions in our programs. So our program should be pretty fun. It's just going to be a program that prints out some text, and that text is going to scroll from the top to the bottom of the screen while changing colors. We need to create a variable that contains the text that we want to print. So that is going to be a string variable. I first will come up with a variable name. For my string, will be called $. String variables always end their names with a $. I then will assign a value. Assignment is done with the equal sign. You put your variable on the left and the value you want to assign to the variable on the right, never the reverse. Your string literal goes inside of double quotes, like so. I'm going to put the name of my channel. Now I've created my string variable. Now I would like to print this variable out. And what I want to do is create a program that prints out this value at the top of the screen in the middle, horizontally in the middle, and then scrolls that value all the way down to the bottom of the screen and then starts it back over at the top again and goes down. So that's our ultimate goal. So first let's start by locating it around horizontal middle and the top of the screen. Now in my first video I went over the locate command, which is just locate, but that's not how you spell it. In the locate command, we put the vertical and then horizontal text location that we'd like our text to display at. So I'm going to put this at the top line of 1 and around the middle. I'm going to choose around 35. We have about 80 lines of text horizontally, but I'm going to do 35, which will account for the characters, and maybe just put it slightly left of center. Then I'm going to use our print command and simply print my variable $. After that is done, I should be able to run this, and there we go. We see SVGA appears at the top middle of the screen. Great, we're part of the way there. So we've used a string variable. Now we're going to use a loop and an integer variable. So to use the for next loop, we start out with the keyword for. Then we have a variable. That variable will change values as the loop progresses. We set an initial value for that variable, which I would like to be 1. So far we've assigned the value of 1 to x the first time that this loop runs. X is an integer variable. I use the to keyword to know where this loop will loop to in terms of the value of x. And then I'm going to put a top value for x of 28, because we have approximately 30 vertical lines of text on the screen. I end my loop by saying next x. The x is not required, the next will automatically associate with the correct for, but I think it's good programming practice to put what variable is associated with the next. Alright, what I'm going to do now is move my locate and print values into my loop. Now that we have those in our loop, this would simply print about 28 times the value of $. But what we want it to do is print that value moving from top to bottom. So what I can do is replace the value of 1 in my locate to the value of x, because x is going to move from 1 to 28 through the loop. So let's run this code, and as you can see, it prints from top to bottom. Now our ultimate goal is to have an illusion of movement from this going from top to bottom. So one quick way to do that would be to use the CLS command, which will clear the screen between each time the value is printed. However, if I run this, you'll see it moves very quickly, and we can't really see it moving. So what I would like to do is in between the print and the clear screen have a slight pause of about 1 second. So to do that, I will use the sleep command, saying sleep 1, which will sleep for 1 second. And now we can watch this run from top to bottom. Let's see it go here. All right, so it's moving. Now rather than waiting the whole time, I can actually progress the program through sleep with the key press, and there we go. So now it's moving from top to bottom. For fun, let's change the color each time through. So in order to do this, let's add a color command to the loop. And we'll also use X to guide that color. Now there's only one problem here. There's only 16 colors in the screen mode that we've chosen. That's something we covered in the first video. So in order to reduce the number of colors that we progress through, I'm just going to divide X by 2. And this will do integer division. Okay? So we're not going to end up with a floating point or decimal value, but rather simply the quotient stands the remainder. So if we run this now, we should see this going through the colors. We lost it for a second there, and that was because it used the color black, same as the background. So now we can progress through. The last thing that we want to do is we want to make this so that when the SVGA value gets to the bottom of the screen, that it returns back to the top of the screen. So in order to do that, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to use a conditional statement with my if command. It goes like so. If something, then do something. So the first something is a condition, and the second something is the commands that we want to run if that condition is true. So what we actually want to know is, are we at the end of the loop? So in order to do that, I can simply just say, if x equals 28, then, so when x is its final value, I'm going to set x to 0. And it'll immediately go back to the top of the loop, increment, and become 1. And we should see this go back to the top. Let's see what happens. Let's progress through. Okay, we're back up at the top. That works. Uh-oh, I have a problem. I'm in an infinite loop right now. I actually did this on purpose to demonstrate this idea that what we've done is we've created a condition that recycles our loop, and the problem is there's no condition to get us out. Luckily, control break allows us to get out. I can hit control break, I'm back to my program. Now we can remove the infinite loop if instead of restarting the loop by an if statement, and I just comment that if statement out, I could just rerun my loop with another variable for however many times I wanted that text to move from top to bottom. So I'll create another outer loop here that moves from 0 to 2. I'll use the variable y to count for that loop. And so what we have is called a nested loop. I have a loop labeled x that is going to loop 28 times, and the outer loop y will loop twice. Everything inside of the outer loop y will loop twice, which includes the entire x loop. So the x loop will count from 1 to 28 2 times in a row. So we should see the text go from top to bottom twice, and the program will end without having to worry about an infinite loop. Let's try it again. moving once. We're moving twice, a little faster. And we're done. I hope that you enjoyed this part 2 of my quick basic series. Tune in again for part 3. It's like I'm inside of the shape.